Hello, everyone. My name is Neil Shapiro from Captivate, and I wish we could all be together for this, but I want to thank Geopath and the OAAA for putting together a virtual conference. So we are virtually gathered here today to mourn the passing of the cookie, or more specifically, to mourn the passing of the third-party cookie. We'll take a quick look back at the third-party cookie's life and times, its journey from being a hero to a villain, and what we can take away from its impending demise and how it impacts out-of-home advertising. But first, a little family history. So cookies, as you probably know, are little pieces of code that are dropped on your computer every time you browse the internet. Cookies in general tend to get a bad rap with consumers, but first-party cookies are actually a linchpin of your browsing experience. They're the reason that when you put something in your shopping cart on Amazon or another shopping site, you can navigate away from the page, come back later, and your items are still in the cart. They also recognize that you're a logged in user of a particular site, so you don't have to log in every time you visit Facebook or Amazon or LinkedIn or whatever. The important thing is that the first party cookies are created by the website you're going to and essentially represent a one-to-one relationship between the site and the visiting user. Third-party cookies are any cookies dropped on your computer by someone other than the site you're visiting. So typically they're used by ad tech companies to create audience targeting by tracking consumers across the web. They're used by analytics companies to measure consumer behavior on sites, and measurement companies for attribution for digital ad campaigns. And when people talk about clearing your cookies in your browser, this is typically what they're talking about. Third-party cookies tend to get a bad rap, but they're also a key part of the digital ad ecosystem as it exists today. This also creates an inherent tension between privacy, which we all say we like, and tracking, which we all say typically we don't like. However, like any good family dynamic, there's more to it than that. Without third-party cookies, you would likely see less relevant advertising across the web, and advertisers would have a harder time measuring their campaigns. So this tension between first-party and third-party cookies, I'm sure, leads to some very awkward, mom always liked you best moments at family gatherings. Even if the third-party cookie is not officially dead yet, it's definitely on its last legs. And that is why we are here today, to talk about how we got here and what it means for the future. So privacy has certainly become a hot button issue over the past several years. And I think most consumers are becoming more aware of how much your phone and browser track your behavior at any given moment. And I also think we're a little careless with how we blindly hand over our privacy to a bunch of third parties whenever we visit a website. We've all seen those little bars that pop up at the bottom or the top of your screen talking about cookies and privacy policies. I know Captivate has one on our website. I saw that Clear Channel, Lamar, and Outfront all have them too. If you see these, I'm pretty sure that you, much like me, click OK. 99.9% of us do that. That message is there because of something called GDPR, or General Data Protection Regulations, which is a European law that is supposed to help govern who has access to your browsing data. The US version is something called CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act. As a quick side note, CCPA, I believe, was supposed to go into effect this July, but a bunch of advertising industry trade groups are asking for an extension to be CCPA compliant due to COVID-19. But let's take a deeper look into what we're talking about with third-party cookies. So I want to start off with some videos that might bring it to life. So I'm probably the only person who is watching this who's a Formula One racing fan. So this example is certainly not to pick on them specifically, because you will likely see this at just about any ad-supported website you visit. So what we're going to look at here is a quick video about the Formula One website cookie and privacy policy. So as you can see, a lot of legalese here, stuff that most people probably never read, but it is all available for you to check out. And if you do that, you'll start to see things like the cookie consent management platform, which if you click on it here for Formula One, what you'll see is all the lists of trackers that are embedded on the site. And if you click on the advertising trackers there, you'll see this long, long list. Those are all the people who are dropping third-party cookies on your computer as part of your visit to Formula1.com. So again, this is not to pick on the Formula One website. If you click into the more info section on these or just about any website, you'll see something similar. So that's a lot of people who are tracking your behavior. And it's possible because of third-party cookies. Now, the big news from a few months ago is that the Google Chrome browser, which is used by more than half of the people browsing the internet, will stop supporting third-party cookies in a little over a year and a half. So given that we have that time to wrap our heads around this sea change in how digital advertising works, there are a few things that are apparent even this early on. First, we can talk about what it means for business as usual as of right now. Second, we can talk about what it means for the advertising ecosystem as it exists today. And third, we can talk about what it means for out of home. So what it means today for business as usual is that business as usual, or BAU as some people at Captivate like to call it, will not continue. Will it evolve and morph? Absolutely. Do we know what that's going to look like? Not really. Neither does Google, by the way, as we'll talk about in a second. So when it comes to things like this, I like to paraphrase Donald Rumsfeld about how there are known unknowns and then there are the unknown unknowns. So third-party cookies support a massive amount of the current tech ecosystem. You know, all the third-party audience targeting used for digital campaigns, multi-touch attribution, campaign performance reporting, and retargeting are just some of what will be impacted by the death of the third-party cookie. At least you won't have to see ads for the product you just bought following you around the web for 2 weeks, so maybe there's a little bright side there. Google says it will create a privacy sandbox that lives at the browser level and offer anonymized, aggregated data to clients and advertisers, but no one has seen what that looks like yet. Maybe there'll be enough there for some semblance of tracking to continue, and I'm sure that smart ad tech companies will figure out how to make it work for their use cases. Certainly, AI is going to play a major part in audience modeling. If you have cookie-based audiences today, you can start to model out all the factors that make a user part of that audience. Things like browsing behavior, location, app usage, device type, URLs that they're visiting, things like that. And then use those signals that will still exist to create models of those audiences. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And again, I'm sure a lot of smart data scientists are working on solutions for this as we speak. So I hesitate to say that the programmatic ecosystem as we know it today will be unrecognizable, since I do not want to bet against companies like The Trade Desk, MediaMath, Rubicon, et cetera, who are proponents of the open internet as opposed to walled gardens, but certainly big changes are coming. Possibly the DSP's big pushes into out-of-home audio, connected TV, linear TV will help offset a potential decline in digital advertising as they become true omni-channel platforms. One final thing that won't be able to continue as usual is multi-touch attribution. It will be much harder to track digital advertising campaigns. One possible outcome is that advertisers will have to use last touch attribution, which tends to favor Google search results as the last touch before a site visit. But there could be a bright side to this as digital advertisers go back to what we would call tried and true old school things like brand studies and panel-based surveys. So what does it mean for the ad ecosystem as it exists today? One thing that I think will be problematic for the out-of-home world is that most of us, Captivate included, have digital partners we use for applying additional targeting for our campaigns. So anybody who uses cookies to build audiences is going to be affected, and that includes some of our partners who I know are busily working on new identity and targeting solutions that will live outside of the cookie. The companies that currently rely on third-party cookies are going to have to adapt, and luckily for them, they have a fair amount of runway to do so. Let's not forget, there's already a blind spot from Safari and Firefox doing similar things over the past few years, so it's not like this is unprecedented. The difference is that Apple is not in the digital advertising business, while Google is. And in some ways, you might even say Google is the digital advertising business. The difference between Safari and Chrome is that Safari blocks all third-party cookies, and while Google will too, there will actually be a Google Chrome cookie that will be considered by Google to be a first-party cookie. So they still get to track all your browsing behavior via their own first-party, browser-based, not website-based cookie. Some surprise winners might be large publishers with scalable logged-in audiences who can leverage first-party audience data to segment out audiences based on their on-site behaviors as a replacement for third-party audience targeting. For example, think about the Wall Street Journal, which could create audiences based on what sections of the website you're visiting. Is this ideal? Better than nothing? Absolutely. And of course, other data-rich companies with walled gardens will grow stronger. So Facebook and Amazon will do well because they have tons of their own first-party data. A dark horse in this is Verizon because they're a publisher with a wide variety of scalable sites, a solid tech backbone, and maybe someday Verizon wireless data. So that's a good combination in a third-party cookieless world. So I would keep an eye on them. Now, what does it mean for out of home? As our friends in linear TV are fond of saying, content is king, and it will certainly reign again. However, I think another important royal, maybe a queen, prince, princess, duke, I don't know, will be context. It used to be in the pre-audience targeting days that if you were an auto advertiser, you ran your ads on endemic auto sites like cars.com, Edmunds, Kelley Blue Book, etc. These ads always perform better anyway because when will consumers be more interested in a car ad? When they're reading about their favorite sports team or a movie review, or when they're actually researching their next car purchase. Out of home, especially place-based out of home, which is obviously near and dear to me, has the advantage of this powerful built-in context. So we all know the importance of directionals. They're so obvious yet so effective. Want to drive people to your QSR? Make sure you have a directional on the highway near your exit. What better place to reach shoppers than at the mall? Looking to reach fitness enthusiasts? How about screens and gyms? You got a B2B campaign? How about reaching professionals during the day in office elevators? So personally, as a digital refugee now working in the out-of-home world, I'm very interested to see how this impacts the out-of-home business in the coming years. So the same way that content and context will reassert itself online, out-of-home provides an opportunity to offer unique context and content as well. So let's wrap up with some actionable next steps. First, I would make sure all your ad tech partners are preparing for the world without third-party cookies. Most of them are already preparing for this based on what happened with GDPR and the California Consumer Privacy Act. How are they going to track behavior? What do their measurement solutions look like? If they rely heavily on mobile, I would expect a similar trend to move into the mobile world around mobile advertising IDs. There's already a big focus on who's tracking your mobile device, so I would expect that to accelerate. Next, keep an eye on what the big walled gardens like Google and Amazon are doing with their ad tech, but also pay attention to what proponents of the open internet like the Trade Desk are saying. Again, I would not bet against those guys. And finally, I think there could be an opportunity for out of home to capture more programmatic dollars as third-party cookies go away. There's currently a lot of money running across the open internet, and without third-party cookies, targeting and tracking becomes challenging. While some of that money will flow to the walled gardens and other media like CTV, it's possible that out of home can capture some of those dollars. So selfishly, let's make sure we continue to evangelize out of home as a brand safe, fraud free, ad blocking free medium that provides powerful content, context, and engagement. So, in conclusion, what will the future hold after the demise of the third party cookie? Who knows? But one thing is clear. In the name of privacy, the walls are getting higher around walled gardens at the expense of the rest of the ad tech ecosystem. We may yet come to find that we miss our old friend that we love to hate, the third party cookie. If you have any questions or want to talk further about this, please reach out to me at nshapiro@captivate.com. And thank you for watching.